Hi everyone, it's been a while since I posted my channel, so I decided to throw together a short video to update you on what's been going on the last 2 to 3 months. So over the winter, I've given a lot of thought to what I can do to improve my overall kayak fishing success in 2022. Unfortunately, 2021 was probably my least productive year kayak fishing ever. And first of all, I didn't get out nearly as much as I wanted to, and when I did get out, the fishing was sporadic at best. In fact, there's more than a few times I got skunked completely, and that's really unusual. I fished with my grandson, who's been my fishing buddy for years, and he had the same results. So it just wasn't working for us. So why didn't I get out as much last year? Weather was probably the biggest factor, and then next transportation was the next. So over the years, I've become a little more selective on when I go out kayak fishing. Yeah, I've got a few miles on me, so I can be selective now. If it's going to be windy conditions, predicting storms, or it's extreme heat, I just don't go out. As I mentioned, I fish with my grandson often, and I just don't want to be out when the weather is bad. Now, my buddy Rick refers to me as a fair weather fisherman. So that's not exactly the same words he used. I can't repeat what he said on YouTube. But anyway, you get the idea. But by defense, I like to say that anyone who's ever fished on the Madison Lakes knows that when it gets windy, those waters can get treacherous in a hurry. It's just not worth the risk. And then transportation was the next issue. Late last winter, my wife and I decided to replace our Jeep Cherokee with a new one. Unfortunately, the new Cherokee did not have a hitch, trailer hitch. So unfortunately, we did have another vehicle, an older Jeep Compass that did have a hitch on it. So that's when I used kayak fishing early in the season. But we decided we're going to buy a truck, a small Toyota Tacoma pickup. So we found out from Carvana that used vehicles were a hot commodity, and we were surprised at how much Carvana was willing to pay us for the Jeep Compass, far more than that Toyota dealership was going to give us in a trade. So we sold the Compass right away and made a good profit. We applied that towards our truck. Unfortunately, it took about 2 months for the truck to come in, so there was a period of time where I didn't have a vehicle available to haul the kayaks, and I kind of had to rely on others. So that cut back on our fishing time a bit. So when the truck finally came in, I went out to Harbor Freight and bought a tailgate extension and put that in, and now we're good to go. So as far as the fishing success, I mentioned before, my grandson and I have fished together, and we've used kind of similar techniques for many years that had just incredible results for bass fishing in the southern Wisconsin lakes. Great luck. And this last year, 2021, it just did not work. So it's clear we had to change our strategy. So this winter, I spent a lot of time researching. I did a lot of reading, watched a lot of YouTube videos, and got some ideas what we could do to help. Some of the channels I checked out are Kayak Hacks Fishing, which is a great site for DIY projects, kayak rigging, and water safety. Great resource. I also watch a fair number of Christine Fisher's videos. Christine is probably one of the best kayak anglers in the country right now. She's a tournament angler, and she's consistently in the top 10 in the tournaments she competes in. Very, very good angler. And Christine, because she's a pro, she doesn't share a lot of specific details, but if you watch some of her tournament recaps, you can see some of the techniques she's using. So I've learned a lot from her. Mike Iaconelli is another one. He's a champion bass angler. Great videos. In fact, last week I saw one on how to rig and use stick bakes, and I found some techniques that he uses that I never even considered, but great ideas. And I'm going to apply that this summer. Tyler Reel Fishing, another good resource. One Cast, One Fish. Fluke Master, Natalie Up North, another great kayak angler. She's has a lot of good videos. She shares details, not quite as much as some of the others, but just a really great resource. Anyway, after reading or watching the videos, reading a lot, it became very clear that first, I had some severe limitations on my kayak setup, and then the next, we really had to change our techniques. So the first thing I decided to do was really put the upgrades in the kayak. And just a second here, I'll kind of share what I'm going to do this year. Oh, by the way, too, my kayak is still in winter storage, and I hope to get it out this week. And as soon as I get it on, everything mounted on there, then we'll give it a try and then update you. It became obvious the first priority should be to upgrade the kayak. First thing I did is I bought an anchor trolley, and a 3-pound grapple style anchor, and also made a stakeout pole. When I first started kayak fishing, I thought the really nice thing about kayaks is that you make use of wind to drift and cover more territory. And in theory, that's a really great idea. Unfortunately, in practice though, oftentimes if it's a little windy, you can position your kayak near some good cover, some structure, and by the time you put your paddle down, pick up your pole, you can maybe get 1 or 2 casts in before you drift too far. So what happens, you end up fishing a lot of areas that are maybe less productive. You miss the cover, and it's just not real good use of time. So again, from watching the videos, it became clear the anchor trolley was my first priority. So the anchor trolley, you can position your kayak so it's near cover, you can arrange it so you can cast, and this basically hammer an area that has cover or good structure and put many casts in that area. So those casts should be more productive because you're fishing in areas where there are fish. That's a great idea. The stakeout pole is something I added too for the shallow water areas. Again, the same type of thing. You get so close, by the time you put the pole down, the paddle down, pick up the pole, you're in too close. So I built my stakeout pole following the guidance from Kayak Hacks Fishing. The only difference is I used a steel coated or plastic coated steel garden post, and I did this because I couldn't find the fiberglass ones that Kayak Hack Fishing was using. I prefer the fiberglass, but I just couldn't find it available. I tried all the local big box stores, the Walmarts, Home Depot, Menards. I even tried the True Value chain and half a dozen nurseries in the area, and just couldn't find them. Now I could order one through Amazon or I could order it through Home Depot. The problem is you have to buy them in bulk. You know, if I'm going to spend 40, 50 bucks to buy a handful of fiberglass stakeout poles, I may as well just spend the money on a Yak Attack, actual Yak Attack stakeout pole. So I decided to try this, and we'll give it a try hopefully soon. What I also did is I took a T-fitting that was half-inch PVC and used this as a handle. And this is what Kayak Hack Fishing does too. The one thing I wanted to warn you about though is this plastic coating. I think it's polyethylene. Glue doesn't stick well. So what I did is this fitting here actually has two fittings that are standard glue-in type fittings, and this one down here is threaded. And the idea is that since this is soft plastic, you should be able to thread it onto this fitting. So what I did is I gooped it up good with PVC cement, twisted it on, and once I let the PVC cement set, I took a ring shank aluminum nail. I coated the aluminum nail with Grella super glue, tapped it through. Oh, actually I drilled an 1/8 inch hole first, tapped it through, and the other end here, what I did is I snipped it off of the side cutters, and I put it on my steel vise, and I tapped it and flattened out the aluminum with a hammer. So now it's very secure. So that's what I tried. Again, these posts, or these steel covered plastic posts, also float, but I added this piece of pool noodle at the advice of Kayak Hack Fishing because you can see it better. Okay, one of the other things I added to my kayak was a fish locator. Now in the past, I've kind of relied on, just knowing the lakes that I fish, and I kind of find the structure by triangulation, looking at landmarks and trying to get a general idea where I'm going to fish. But that's kind of a shot in the dark. Now my grandson typically fishes with me, and he has a fish locator on his kayak. It's an older style, but he has one. And the logic was, I have him, he can help me locate areas, but it just wasn't working. Oftentimes we're separated by, 100 or 200 yards when we're fishing, so it just wasn't working. So it was a real disadvantage to me because I'm oftentimes fishing areas that are maybe less productive. I'm missing the drop-offs and structures and things like that. So I broke down and bought a Garmin Striker Plus 4. Now, I'm probably preaching to the choir here because a lot of you kayak anglers probably already have these anyway. But I was cheap and I thought, well, I don't need it. But the truth is I did. And then after looking at the videos and information this winter, it's clear that I really needed to be able to locate where the fish are and change my tactics so I can find those fish. So the Striker 4 has probably one of the best write-ups and reviews of the budget style fish locators. What I like about this too is GPS. So there's areas I typically know where they are in the lakes. Now I can go into those lakes and map it and actually mark it on the fish locator and store it. So next time I go out, I don't have to waste a lot of time and go right to those areas and fish. And I opted to go with a lithium battery rather than a lead acid battery. Now the lithium batteries are a little more expensive, but they last longer and they're less hazardous. Now, if anyone's looked at my bio, you know that I've spent 43 years in the environmental and public health field. And during my career, I spent many times investigating lead contamination, and there's a good share of them from poor operation in recycling batteries. So anytime I can reduce the risk of having lead in the environment, I'm going to do it. So, and again, I followed some YouTube videos, and I put a quick disconnect on my box here, and this is just a box from Amazon. It's Outdoor Products waterproof box, and it fits perfect. So as I mentioned before, my grandson and I didn't have great luck in 2021. And there are a variety of reasons, but it's clear that the techniques we're using and possibly some of the baits just weren't working that great. So personally, after reviewing videos and doing a lot of reading, I decided I'm going to try to fish more plastics this year. So again, I'm going to try the stick baits. Again, Mike Iaconelli had some great ideas. The speed shads. This is something actually a young lady who is a pond angler down from Illinois. Her name is Christine, and her username is Midwest Outdoors Gal. Has some great ideas. She had just tremendous luck using the speed shad this summer or this spring. Great success. I'm gonna try some flukes. I've got some Z-Man crayfish, some Zoom crayfish. I'm going to try some of these this summer and see what happens. So last year I did have limited success using the Z-Man Ned rigs. It worked okay, but again, I may have been fishing in areas that really didn't have a lot of fish. I'm hopefully change that this year. That's what we're going to try. Anyway, I hope this works out. So that's all I have today. As I mentioned before, my kayak is still in winter storage. I'm hoping to get it out the next few days. I'll get all the little goodies added on the kayak. I'm going to take the new baits and get out and give it a try. And what I'll do is I'll post an update after I've had a chance to try everything out on the water. So thanks for watching my videos. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below the video. And hope you have a great 2022. Happy kayak fishing!